this is Lee back once again for another video, and finally I get to continue my coverage, my review of the Shimmer weekend. Now, I've already covered in previous videos volume 96 and 97 on Saturday, November 11th. Now we continue with November 12th, volume 98 and 99. And I'm going to try to condense my thoughts, shorten it a little bit because I really went on. It was a long show, it was a long weekend. Not as long as some past weekends with Shimmer as a fan, but it is exhausting. My night spent at the Roadway Inn in Lyons, Illinois, not far from the Berwyn Eagles Club, where the show took place. Was okay. In the last time I did an entire weekend, it was this giant room for a bargain price. So to pay a little bit more, got a little smaller room, a little bit quieter, so I couldn't really do all my thoughts, then. My voice was going, so, I didn't have much to say at the time, but, I've said a lot, and I'll get into the matches now. So, to continue with the show, overall this was a fantastic show. I would say just as good on Sunday as it was on Saturday. And so, beginning the pre-show, there were some unfortunate things, but I'll get into that more later. I actually spoke with one of the fans who had been at the previous show and had chided the Smarks for, over-chanting and just trying to distract the performers and everyone from the match. And, I thanked them for standing up to the, would-be show ruiners. But really, I didn't feel the Smarks were as bad this weekend as they were compared with the last show that I reviewed, where I talked about the little girls, taking over the Smarks, and then the little girls being defeated by the wrestlers, so it all worked out. This time it was a little more, who knows. But I think if you watch the digital virtual disc recordings, you probably won't even notice what's going on. And I would say, from where I was sitting, the hard cameras were on this side of the ring, and I was on the opposite side, towards kind of the middle, general admission, so like the third, fourth row, something like that. A lot of the action took place, outside of the ring, as it often does on Sundays. Not as much, I would say, this weekend as in some weekends, but there were some people were thrown into the merchandise tables. You didn't have merchandise going everywhere, like last time probably destroyed someone's collection. But you did have some fights, you did have some people being thrown down on the floor, and we'll have to wait a year to see that footage at least. So, kind of too bad, but that's what happens. Sometimes you're in the right spot to see those cool spots, but hopefully the cameramen did their thing and got all the good. So, yes, continuing on, we had the pre-show, Rise, presented by Rise, this, developmental wrestling school. Jules Malone and Hyann against Cherry Lane, not Cherry Bomb, but Cherry Lane, and Trixie Tash. And so Jules Malone defeated Trixie. I don't really remember too much about this match. You probably don't even care because it's pre-show. But, these performers, they do their thing, and sometimes they end up on the main roster, but we'll see. So maybe the Rise people were more concerned about that, but I'm not reviewing Rise, I'm reviewing Shimmer. See, these were just warm-ups. These were short, tag team matches. Then we had Heather Monroe against Kylie Ray, not Kaylee Ray. Tessa Blanchard. Now, this was a surprise. And the gentlemen that were near me, were really obsessed with Tessa Blanchard. I was thinking to myself, after watching, I'll say this later in my other review, but I was watching Alexa Bliss wrestle in WWE Raw and some of their, network pay-per-views, and, she does kind of look like Tessa Blanchard a little bit. If you dyed her hair and gave her, like, even more makeup around her eyes, a lot of her mannerisms very similar. I'm not saying their style is the same, but they kind of play that kind of bratty, kind of entitled, self-righteous heel personality. You know, she's Tessa Blanchard. She's demonstrated she's a good wrestler. She's a talented performer. She doesn't have to cheat. She doesn't have to rely on her giant Vanessa Craven, partner to do her dirty work for her, which is how she started out. The cowardly kind of glorified manager, glorified valet, who just wants to take all the credit. But imagine if Paul Heyman, after having Brock Lesnar do all the fighting, at the end came in and pinned his opponent and said, "Yay, I'm the winner, I did it." It would be ridiculous. But Tessa Blanchard's become, a great wrestler in her own right. She's demonstrated she can do it, and it's been a shock for fans because it's been so many volumes since she started out. She started out as kind of the cowardly heel with Vanessa Craven, kind of as her enforcer, doing all the work for her, and then she takes the credit. And then there was a huge gap, with the Shimmer volumes that haven't been publicly released yet for purchase or streaming, which only the fans in attendance have seen and the production staff and so forth. But when she comes back, suddenly she's actually good. And she still cheats, she's still arrogant, she still gets incensed when the fans insult her and compare her to Alexa Bliss or whatever. But she's definitely better. And, to see Tessa, people kind of mocked her. It's like, oh, you've been demoted. But I think, I'm not sure if she was filling in for someone. But, with these Rise shows, it's clear they have rookies, they have newcomers, these early, starting out, just getting their footing wrestlers, most of them very fired up, very flashy costumes, really trying hard to make a name for themselves, and to put them against, a veteran, a title holder like that would be a great honor. So, I pretty much presumed, because I'd heard through podcasts, that Tessa Blanchard is moving on, presumably to Impact Wrestling, which is no longer Global Force Wrestling. And I wish her well. She's appeared on NXT, but whatever her plans, I thought, well, she's moving on, so she probably thought, yeah, I'll do someone a favor. I'll have a match with them. So, she went against Indy Hartwell. Indy, what a perfect name for a indie wrestler. But Tessa defeated her. There's a lot of heckling from the fans. But it started out, this tall, slender Indy. She comes out and there was this bearded man in the front row. I don't know if he was a plant or if he was just a fan or whatever, but, there was this bearded man, and she went to give him a hug. And, usually when that happens, you think, oh, it's a super fan, it's a friend of the wrestler, it's, maybe someone that they know outside. But she goes to give him a hug, and he shakes his head and sits down. And she's not a heel. She hasn't done anything to, get his ire, but people booed him. And she was just kind of like, okay. She kind of walked away. I don't know if there's any history between these two, but someone yelled out, boo this man. So it was kind of a funny moment, but obviously she was the face. And, she tried her best. She's taller and more slender, but Tessa was just too powerful for her. And a little underhanded with some of her moves, a lot of brute. And, it just looks so much more natural. She's wearing a lot of makeup, Tessa Blanchard, but not nearly as much makeup as she wore during the Mae Young Classic. Some female performers, they just look, I don't know if you just get used to the way their face looks with all their stage makeup on. But some of them just really take a minimalist approach when they're wrestling, which makes sense. Get all smeared around. But it's like a stage actor. You want your eyes and your mouth to really pop, for the people in the back. But, when you've only got, I don't know, maybe 10 rows of fans versus a giant stadium, that makes a difference. But then again, what looks good on TV is different than what looks good on TV, on the camera. But I remember the Mae Young Classic, Tessa really looked odd with her caked on makeup. And I think it was the lighting, because once they switched the lights from the blue to the actual show, it looked okay, but you could tell, she really had it caked on. So whatever show she goes to, I hope the makeup artists do a better job. Because really, she's an attractive woman, but, she just wants to I think she needs to come across as just a normal person, not a clown. I mean, it's not like Asuka, putting on her makeup. Which reminds me, why doesn't Kana wear her zombie or evil clown face paint in WWE? But that's another subject. Anyway, so moving on from the pre, finally, we get to the first match of Shimmer 98, Volume 98. Jessica Havoc, who of course is a face by now. She had kind of a different outfit, a little less of the kind of punk neo-Nazi witch zombie kind of outfit. She still has the gas mask with the little lights, but just a little bit less of that and more of just she's just a big woman with long hair and kind of a black or dark outfit and a plastic baseball bat, and she's here to just beat people up, and she's kind of a monster. She's definitely not like a Nia Jax or an Awesome Kong. She just does her own thing. But, as far as size, she's definitely one of the larger. Well, I think she is the largest overall wrestler on the Shimmer roster at this time. Roster, I say. But, it changes from weekend to weekend. But there you go, regular. She was against Zoe Lucas. Poor Zoe Lucas from the UK with her, early Kelly Skater-esque outfit with her name on it and her Union Jack British flag wearing like a cape, and she grabbed the mic and she tried to trash talk the fans, and people just kind of drowned her out with her boos. So I think she's coming along, and she pouts and she whines when she loses. And it was a foregone conclusion that, of course, she'd be destroyed by Jessica Havoc, which she was to the fans' delight. This small, whiny wrestler getting just torn apart by this beast. But that's okay. I kind of hope that Zoe, that she comes back and that she does more. I'd like to see where she goes. Because, people kind of poo-pooed Kelly Skater, but she really just was great. I'm not saying they're the same. One's from Australia, one's from the UK with their characters and everything, but I think she has the potential. She's just mouthing off to the fans, a lot of energy. Very young looking. But anyway, Jessica Havoc, putting her through her paces. And finally, after the first match was over, I think the fans got their energy up because there weren't quite as many dead spots as I've seen in some of the more recent volumes of the ones I've seen that I've been to in person. There wasn't as much smarkiness, so that was good. Most of the fans seemed to cheer the faces and boo the heels, which was kind of how it's supposed to work, and the performers are kind of supposed to earn it. They're not just like, oh, well, we booed this person just because. Who knows why? I want the wrestlers to give me a reason to get engaged, because I know it's fake. We all know it's fake, right? But you need to engage us. And then the people watching at home, will be able to see what happened. They won't just go, gee, a lot of smocks that day. Don't really know what's going on. Don't have the commentary tell you what to do. So we have a tag team match, the Blue Nation, of Charlie Evans and Jessica Troy. Now, they call themselves the Blue Nation, but they were really wearing kind of a turquoise, kind of blue-green, aquamarine kind of clothes. Color very subtle, so they got a little bit of heat for that. Charlie Evans, I gotta say, Charlie Evans was great. Just her, maybe it's her makeup, her hair, her proportions, the kind of the figure skater kind of bathing suit outfit she wears, kind of makes her look like an overgrown kid. And she kind of acts like an overgrown kid, too. I remember her pouting when she gets heckled by the fans. She definitely comes out like a schoolyard bully. It's like she's looking for people wearing hats, baseball caps to knock off or grab and throw on the ground. Definitely a mischievous child in a grown woman's body. So, it's just very like-to-hate kind of character. And then Jessica Troy, a little more slender, very small, but a little bit taller. Kind of tags along. She didn't stand out as much to me. I think Charlie Evans is definitely the stronger character. But the two of them, a bit of a heel team. And they were against a Solo Darling and Thunder Kitty. Now, I'd said previously how, Solo Darling, I think she was some kind of, I may get this wrong, exotic dancer or something. Very fit, shorter, stockier kind of performer, but, great shape. Um, and she wears kind of these, animal ears and kind of a foxtail and these big, like, furry boot covers, and she has kind of this like fox persona, where she makes the fox noises, and previously Daphne was her manager, and she had the little bottle of looked like fruit punch or something, and she sipped it and kind of went crazy because like all the sugar. Well, she's kind of setting that aside. I saw that she came out with half a tail, like I guess there was her tail had been ripped off in battle. And so, of course, with the new outfit, she wore half a tail, like it was really injured, really wounded. And, in the course of the match, she lost the tail completely. And when she came out the next time, it was gone. No more tail. So, and of course, you don't have a sugary drink anymore, so I think she's moving away. And her makeup, she had this, thicker eye makeup, kind of made her look a little older, a little less childlike, a little less animal, more fierce. So, I kind of like what they're doing with Solo Darling. She was kind of a comedic character before, so making her a little more serious, but she's still fun-loving, but, a little bit more brutal, a little bit more, in-your-face, combat character, so I like it. And she, of course, was with Thunder Kitty. Thunder Kitty looked like she'd lost a lot of weight. Her hair was done up a little fancier. It wasn't just kind of like a bun or just tied back. She had, it looked like she'd been to the salon and done her hair up nice. Kind of like these Mildred Burke, old school wrestlers that she's trying to imitate, as leopard print. So it's kind of like coming out of the 50s or 60s, these kind of glamorous women wrestlers. Of course, back then, women's wrestling wasn't taken seriously. It was kind of a joke, kind of a sideshow, kind of a gimmick. And you had, one or two women that were kind of on the top for years, and they hardly got paid anything. But that's how it goes. But she's kind of invoking that. I think Thunder Kitty has improved. I felt like she didn't really wrestle as much. She kind of like let her tag team partners do a lot more of the work. And that's okay. I think she's gotten a lot of criticism, Thunder Kitty has, for her abilities. I'm not sure if she's really improved, but she has let others do more wrestling. She doesn't do as much joking and trash talking, which I kind of miss. Because that was kind of her thing. It's like, she can't wrestle, but she can sure talk. She can sure throw a joke, a bob her opponent's way. So we'll see how that goes. And I don't know, sometimes these wrestlers, they're recovering from injury or whatever, and so maybe they can't do as much, and so they let others take over. But who knows? They crammed a lot of wrestling into this weekend. It wasn't as big as 41-42, but it certainly was large. I think it was like 40-some wrestlers. You can count them all up at the end and see, how many exactly. But the heels won. Ooh, the heels won. Not much more to say, really. I think I was kind of tired at this point, so I was kind of, just continuing. And, I noticed the outfits and the characters, but not so much the match itself. These tag team matches, they tend to be shorter anyway, unless they're the main event. Next, we had Cheerleader Melissa. This is the third official match of the night. Cheerleader Melissa against Rachel Ellering. Now, I think a lot more people knew who Rachel Ellering was because, she was in the Mae Young Classic. She was supposedly this last minute, well, not last minute, but she went on after Marty Bell was defeated. So, she's tall, she's fit, she's kind of a weightlifter build. So she comes out, and Cheerleader Melissa, coming out, saying very little, very slow, very deliberate, just kind of waving like she's the queen, and smiling. And she didn't have quite such a low-cut outfit as she did in the last show that I was at, which was fine. Just not really, doesn't really seem her style. She's much more of an athlete, of a fighter than like a glamour girl or some kind of bimbo. Cheerleader Melissa's been a bad, character for a long time. She didn't really heel it up that much. I mean, her moveset kind of tends toward the heelish side. A lot of attacks when people are in the corner. The curb stomp seems a little bit heelish, very brutal. But she's kind of a tweener, I guess, at this point. It seemed like a lot of her matches she wrestled, these smaller, less experienced, or newer to the roster wrestlers, kind of to test them out. And she would just do like a really long lockup. Like when they do the wrestlers do their first lockup, they grab each other's shoulders. And usually they go right into a series of moves, but they do these really long lockups. Maybe she's just telling them, the information because that's how they talk. And they get close up and they kind of talk to each other. That's how wrestling works. Everybody knows that, right? So she's kind of like putting these women through their paces. But I think it was a good matchup because the two of them are both, on the taller, kind of bulkier side, with upper body muscles and everything. And, they had a lot of power moves. And so the two of them, I think, had a good match. It was a good matchup. I've seen more out of Melissa, so I don't know if she's just kind of winding down or if she's coming off of injury, but she has a very different style, very slow, very deliberate, methodical, technical, whereas compared to some of the wild, crazy matches she had in the past with people like Melissa, she is Melissa, like people like Mischief, miss her deeply, and Mercedes Martinez, and people like that. So, are Melissa's best years behind her? Who knows? She just comes across differently now than when she started. But that's okay. Wrestlers change their style. I remember I didn't like at first, when Sarah Del Rey changed her style after she lost the belt. She became a totally different character. But that's okay. Eventually I grew to really like it after kind of got her stride. So I think Melissa's doing that as well because she's just been kind of bland. She does the same old moves. But really she is versatile. If you look at Melissa Anderson's, overall work, she's been Alyssa Flash in TNA. She's been Mary Posa in Lucha Underground. She was in TNA. She was also Raisha Saeed, and she did Alyssa Flash and Raisha Saeed, and she even fought against herself in an odd way in Rinka King in India. So she's done a lot. She's done it all, and she's done comedic promos, and she's done serious promos, and she's done all kinds of things. So I wouldn't fault her. I think it just seems very natural what she's doing. So I liked actually Melissa better, I think, in this volume, or this weekend, than I did in the last weekend series that I saw. But the veteran cheerleader Melissa, of course, I would hope that she would win, and she did. She defeated Rachel Ellering with the air raid crash, one of her classic moves. I did not see her do the Kudo driver at all the entire weekend. I think she attempted it a few times, like she was going to do it and the person reversed it. So I don't know if that was just for safety reasons or what, but, it's kind of okay when wrestlers do that because they've established their move, and we know they can do it, but they don't necessarily have to do it. But it was conspicuously absent. I kind of, hoped I'd see it at least once. But it is what it is. Next we had the totally tubular tag team of who else? Delilah Doom, little Delilah Doom, and Leva Bates. And I believe they were coming out again with their, let's see, which one was this? I forgot to write down in my notes. Because in the course of the evening, they had a couple of different outfits. The two of them together. Because Leva Bates always does the cosplaying thing, even since she stopped teaming with Allison Danger, after her retirement. But Leva Bates, these were the gimmicks they used. So they were both in workout clothes, but in reality, they did, let's see which was first, Saved by the Bell, the 1990s sitcom about high school kids. Or were they in middle school? I forget. I think it was high school. And then they had the college years or whatever. But it was always, these kids, in their hijinks, and they were cool, and, they'd hang out and just whatever. I didn't really like the show. I wasn't a fan. It was kind of after my time. But, people that were that age or younger in the early 90s, television watchers and the US of A probably remember Saved by the Bell. But then also what they did, the other gimmick that they did was, it was Bill and Ted, from Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure and Bogus Journey. Keanu Reeves before he was Neo from the Matrix was a wild stallion, yeah, doing air guitar, and just a couple of dudes, a couple of guys from Cali that wanted to hang out with babes and be cool, but whatever. They had misadventures and they time travel and all that. So, but once the match actually started, Leva Bates would stay with her character, whatever it was, and Delilah Doom would kind of like take parts of her costume off, and she would just had her, her usual workout, with the fluffy leg warmers and everything, and it kind of looked like I think she had like lingerie, but then she put like 80s workout clothes on top of it. So it was just kind of a mishmash, very colorful headbands and everything. Small woman, of course. She had a whole bunch of tattoos. Most of them were kind of covered up by the leotard or whatever she's wearing. But Delilah Doom, I think she does well. I think at first I thought she was so goofy, and they really pushed the gimmick like, oh, she's working out, she's feeling good, but she's come a long way. I think take her a little more seriously as a wrestler. When the two of them became the tag team champions, I couldn't believe it. I thought, well, this isn't gonna last long, but there they go. So they went against the hottest free agents, HFA, according to the fans. And it's Ashley Lane, back, from TNA, as where she was Madison Rayne, the evil Madison Rayne. Well, I'm not sure if she's evil anymore. I haven't really watched the show in a while. I've said I need to start watching it again. I have the episodes to watch. I just haven't sat down and seen the women's matches to see how things are going. But Ashley Lane, and she got a lot more audience attention this weekend. I think in her one match in the past show that I saw, the crowd was kind of dead. I kind of felt bad, and she's kind of smiling throughout the matches, like she really enjoys being back in the ring, and probably, working with a lot of the women she remembers from back in the day, even though a lot of them would have been moved on, but just seeing that new generation, a lot of times when they get these behind the scenes things about, Hollywood movies and things, people say, oh, everything was good, everyone was friends, but a lot of times, behind the scenes, people don't get along. They hate each other, or there's problems, or there's scandals. But as far as wrestling goes, a lot of the Shimmer wrestlers have talked about how cool it is to be in an all-women's promotion, and just all these different performers going their own way, doing their thing, and having their time to shine. So it's believable that a lot of them are friends backstage. Certainly you've had people like Kelly Skater and Tomoka Nakagawa who are good friends, not just on camera. So, I don't know, Madison Rayne, Ashley Lane, she seems to like wrestling, and she seems to enjoy being there. So, I think that was contagious. It didn't matter what she was doing, she was having a good time, and so it showed in the quality of her work. She's very small. It's funny, seeing some of these wrestlers, they look tiny, they look dwarfed by the ring. The thing about the ring this time is they had the extra thick, extra padded ropes, and, I don't know. It didn't really obscure much, the black ropes. But some of the wrestlers just look very small. And it's odd to see them on television in other promotions like WWE with these giant rings. I think even some of the large wrestlers look small on Raw. But the Shimmer ring, of course, is a bit smaller. Kind of dirty when you get up close, but it looks like they were using the Eagles Club ring, but they kind of put their own turnbuckle pads on with the Shimmer logo, and then they sold them. I don't know if the mat was different, but it looked cleaner than the one that they'd used before, but up close, still very dirty, so kind of gross. I don't know. I think they need to wash that thing a little bit more often. Because I get a lot of wrestling, usually those Friday wrestling, Saturday, and Sunday, so by then it's just disgusting. I hate to bleed on that thing. Okay, so, of course, the Totally Tubular Tag Team, I believe, just by the way they're titled, that this was the Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure version. So, if you get the digital version disc and I've got it backwards, don't get mad, it's enjoyable either way. But, Deonna Purrazzo was with Ashley Lane, And Deanna, I haven't said much about her. She's kind of long dark hair, big smile, just not too descript. I guess the two of them were just kind of like overwhelmed by the character of their opponents. And when Leva Bates was with Alice in Danger, they were kind of like a little bit of a cheaters, kind of goofy. Leva Bates, she's always been kind of a try-hard, but she's lovable and she's cool to the fans. But she's kind of like the mentor for Delilah Doom, who's even more. I mean, Leva Bates isn't a rookie anymore. Time flies. She and Mia Yim used to be like, this green as grass, but here they are, mentoring the next generation. So, I'd say it was a good match. It's, sometimes, the belts change the perception of the wrestlers, and I think you accept them as a decent tag team, kind of lovable goofs, but competent. So they retained their titles against those two. So moving on, the next match, and I forget how to pronounce the name, but AOI Kazuki against Chelsea Green. And now Chelsea Green, blonde hair. I used to get it confused with Britt Baker, but anyway, tall, slender. I think she wore kind of a skimpy outfits this show, which you don't see very much because typically Shimmer is women acts and not eye candy. But sometimes the performers wear some smaller clothes, maybe what they would have worn in another show and for another promotion. But whatever, not too distracting. Kazuki, of course, cute, smiley. She's always smiling. Kind of like Tomoka Matsumoto, but even more so than that. And she'll get beaten down, she'll grimace and everything, but then as she recovers, she smiles again, even more broadly. And Kazuki coming out with her wings, these sticks with these gossamer flowing cloth. It makes it look like wings of maybe like a hummingbird or something. So Kazuki, very lovable, but she wasn't one of these wrestlers. Because, I was worried because I saw one video of her just getting decimated, I believe it was by Aja Kong. Well, who wouldn't get decimated by Aja Kong? But I thought, oh, she's just going to be a jobber. She's just going to be a joke. She's just going to be cutesy girl who gets beat down. But no, she fought well. Not all of the Joshi, of course, are monsters. They all have their different characters, but typically they're sort of seen as a cut above. They're the elites. So she beat Chelsea Green, but you could see Chelsea Green. She took advantage of the opportunity to say, "Hey, I can do well. I can fight." And Kazuki didn't have an easy time of it, but she still defeated her opponent. So I enjoyed it. So kudos to both of them. It'll be interesting to see the match again. See what I think of it. But at the time, I remember liking it. Couldn't give you the move by move, but that's okay. Next, we have Sweet Saraya Knight against Ivelisse, or Ivelisse Velez. I think she just went by Ivelisse this time. Now, of course, Sweet Saraya is supposed to be, a heel. She flips people the bird. She uses profanity. She attacks the officials and the staff. She threatens the fans. But this weekend she really didn't do a lot of that. She just, so I guess they've turned her face. She comes out in the ring and she just kind of like, instead of glaring at the fans, she kind of half smiles, kind of grins, and kind of just stares down the person in the ring. But in the course of the match, right in front of the referee, she'll hit her opponent in the crotch multiple times, all these groin attacks. And she'll, just trash talk. And of course she wears a t-shirt that has middle fingers and bleeped out profanity on it. So she's definitely, let's say, rough around the edges. But I guess she's becoming kind of I guess she's a tweener, whatever you want to say. But, she still uses heel tactics. But she does it kind of with a wink and a nod. So I guess kind of like Jessica Havoc, although much more so. I mean, she's the biggest heel in Shimmer, is Saraya Knight. Now, Ivelisse, of course, in Lucha Underground, just definitely a tough heel. Of course, she goes against men most of the time because Lucha Underground had very few female performers. But most of the men were smaller, but definitely had more musculature than the women. But a lot of fast attacks, a lot of lucha stuff, flips and top rope moves and things. I don't know if those ropes were a little more slippery than the regular ropes. I didn't see anybody walk the ropes or do any kind of crazy stuff like that. But definitely athletic. She gets thrown around. Sweet Sarai, she definitely likes to throw people by their hair, especially the smaller wrestlers. And Ivelisse isn't that big. But definitely Sweet Sarai, she's an elder lady, not, a fabulous moolah elder, but, she's definitely a little older, so I wouldn't expect her to do too many crazy moves. She definitely has a style. It's very, bruiser, very brawler kind of thing. So she definitely put a beating down on Ivelisse, kind of as a young upstart or whatever. But I think the two of them did well. I wasn't rooting for Sweet Saraya, but a lot of people were. And Sweet Saraya was the winner. So next we had a four-way match. Veda Scott against Shotzi Blackheart, Candice LaRae, and Dust. Yep, Angel Dust, who of course reminds me of Daizee Haze, a little healthier looking version of Daizee Haze with scary, like goth punk demon makeup, because of course she's now associated with Courtney Rush, the Demon Hunter, known as Rosemary in TNA, but more or less the same character. And it was a four-way match. Thank goodness this is not the unfriendly tag that I've complained so much about in previous volumes. So someone's listening. I don't know if they're listening to me, but others have complained, or who knows. But I never liked the unfriendly tag matches that they had. It gave you a chance to see four different wrestlers, but it just didn't make a lot of logical sense. Wouldn't you just stay away from the corners? But in this one, four can be in the ring at a time, but anytime one exited the ring, they had to stay out until someone else exited, then they had to come back in. So it's just kind of like, who could go in first? So, with the four-way match, Shotzi Blackheart, of course, with her over-the-top, entrance in her big helmet and her bright green hair and her fox howls and everything. She's definitely trying hard, but I appreciate that kind of enthusiasm, that hustle, for a new wrestler. She's not the Rise champion anymore, but I believe Delilah Doom is actually. So she had Delilah Doom. I forgot to mention that had two belts, the tag team belt and the Rise belt. But anyway, Candice LaRae, of course, beloved by many. She was in the Mae Young Classic, and people got to see her husband, Johnny Gargano, also a wrestler. Candice LaRae, she's been kind of a cheater, kind of a mischievous heel, but definitely a face now. Very small, unassuming. You look at her and think she can't wrestle. She's a little blonde, tiny person, but she's jumping off the ropes and doing crazy moves. She tried the crotch-grabbing plex move several times, but it always failed. Whatever. Usually it works, but it didn't work this weekend. Veda Scott, the evil secretary. Veda Scott has come such a long way. I love to see her get beat down when she was a face, because it's like she didn't even belong there. It's like, what are you doing in a wrestling match? You can't even see what you're doing. She takes off her glasses. She trips and falls. Well, that was more her partner, Shazzy McKenzie, but, she just seemed very incompetent. And I'm sure she played herself off that way on purpose. That was the character, but it just wasn't interesting. Rather than just see her get beat down. But now that she's kind of like a little more savvy, a lot of trash talking, a lot of sass, which I think she got to perfect that skill in Ring of Honor. So I like Veda Scott a lot more now. I think she's a lot more fun to watch, and she's no longer a rookie. So she can definitely put others through the paces. And she's still a heel, of course. So she actually ended up winning. She defeated Shotzi Blackheart. So it's like, boo, boo. But, what did you expect? Candice LaRae is the only other veteran And with 4 people, people can get distracted. I know when you play the video game version of this in the 2K games, you can be engaged in a fight with someone off outside the ring, and you just get distracted for a second. You turn around, oh, someone's already getting pinned. You try to jump in, and it's too late. You break up the pin, and the match is over. Because it only takes one person to get pinned, and that's it. Boom. It isn't an elimination, or is it? I think they did have an elimination match in the weekend, but yeah, not in this one. I don't think so. Next match, we had Mia Yim against Courtney Rush. Now, this was good. Mia Yim, they were calling her, the Joshi gatekeeper, that she would take on, these Japanese wrestlers, and I guess put them through their paces, because she's no longer a rookie. She still does all her kicks and everything, and, her outfits are a little more conservative, a little more, I don't know, professional looking. Before she just had these very light outfits. I think I've said before, the outfits, they do make an impression when a wrestler comes out. If their outfit looks cheap and kind of hastily thrown together, unless that's the character, it can be kind of annoying. But if they have kind of professional looking, attractive, cool, outfits add to the character, kind of making them look like a superhero or a soldier or whatever character they're supposed to be. I think Mia Yim's outfits have improved. She looks more like a fighter, almost like a ninja or like a Chun-Li type character. But anyway, of course, Courtney Rush, with her skeleton makeup, her demonic, kind of growling and crawling around, and daring her opponent to beat her, and then just laughing like maniacally and acting like an evil clown. I think her character, she's really having fun with it. And, she just kind of she'll grin and smile. You see the old Courtney Rush coming through, the fun-loving goofball, nevertheless competent wrestler, full of energy. But she does it in kind of a scary way. So I like it. I like it a lot. But she was defeated by Mia Yim. And this is how it should be. The face defeats the heel. But, you believed it was a struggle. The two of them are veterans, and they're not small. They're big wrestlers. And, of course, both of them, have had their runs in TNA. Mia Yim as Jade, Courtney Rush as Rosemary, and she's still there, I believe. Of course, Rosemary she was Rosemary in Triple Mania, I believe it was, when a Sexy Star, injured her shoulder in a shoot, move, which was unfortunate. But Courtney Rush seems to have fully recovered. Now, when they were doing the intermission with the, autographs and merchandise, Courtney Rush, she was up there with her, holding her T-shirt, to sell, and she had this very large bruise. I want to say the bruise was like this big on her arm. It was like black and purple and all kinds of colors, and people were commenting saying, oh, it seems like it changes shape every time, and it's kind of scary. So I'm not sure what that's all about. It looked pretty bad, but it didn't look like infected or anything. I'm not a medical doctor, but hope she gets that checked out and it's okay. Scary looking bruise. Anyway, next we have Kellyanne. Not Kellyanne English. She was very clear she's from Australia, not England. But I didn't know that. Whatever. And she was against Hiroya Matsumoto. Now, of course, Kellyanne, she always comes out just kind of like, and she goes in and she always kicks the bottom turnbuckle pad with her boots, and kind of, she has her little skeleton hand, outfit, and her thing tied around her waist, very casual looking. She kind of just looks like she strolled out from the mall, and now she's going to wrestle. And she, instead of a fan club, she's a fiend club. So there's a little bit of a Halloween theme to some of these characters. But Kellyanne, she's bad. But I don't know. She has some support. She's like the heel who is seeking support from the fans, and if they don't give it to her, she gets mad. Like there was one person who held up a Japanese flag, because of her opponent, Hiroyo Matsumoto, and she got over and she's like, "That's the wrong flag." This is kind of funny. Because, there are heels that they care. Like Charlie Evans, she cares about, she wants the fans to like her. And when they don't, she gets mad. Whereas the heels who, if you praise them, they'll berate you. They don't want anyone to praise them at all. So I think it's clever. It takes a little bit of work, but it's good. Hiroyo Matsumoto, of course, coming out with her Godzilla mask. It's a different one this time. It kind of looks more like Shin Godzilla from the more recent 2016 film, theatrical presentation, 2017. Well, anyway, I reviewed it. I should know, but I've forgotten. Sorry. But it was the recent movie, 2016, yeah. Anyway, so it was that as opposed to the classic Godzilla from the 1960s, which was what she had before. So she has a new Godzilla puppet head, that she carries around, and her outfit was, instead of being the fur we saw last time, it was peacock feathers. It's Hiroyo Matsumoto, just a large, well-built woman, and she kind of like flexes her muscles, and she talks about being sexy, and just in a very over-the-top manner. She's very strong. She does some comedy mixed in with her. She's kind of like a little bit like Lufisto, really, because when the two of them had their match, it was a good match because match up. Because Hiroyo, you believe that she can fight, but you think she's a little bit eccentric, a little bit crazy in her head and her mind. But she always comes out with a serious face whenever she's against a big opponent or it's a big important match. You smile like it turns into more serious face. So Hiroyo Matsumoto, just one of the greats. I have Michael Cousin, who had a big career making streamers. He wasn't there, but other people carried on to throw streamers for Hiroyo and for others. So it was great. But anyway, the two of them had their match, and sad, Hiroyo was defeated. I know, couldn't believe it either, but Kellyanne definitely proven herself against a returning Joshi modern legend, I would say. I really thought Hiroyo Matsumoto had retired, and I'd heard this digital virtual disc was out of her retirement match, so I really wanted to see it. I think I asked some people online about it, and they'd never responded, but that's probably because it wasn't really her retirement. No, it wasn't. I mean, I don't speak the Japanese language, but she's still an active wrestler. So I think it was just a tease that she was going to retire. She didn't really. She continued on. So, there you go. I did get my hands on that digital virtual disc, and I've started to watch a little bit of it. If I ever get it finished in a timely fashion, I'll be happy to do a review. Still haven't done the one for Tomoka's retirement Japanese match either. But I've been so busy with other things. But anyway, moving on. So, good match. I can see that for my time, I'm definitely taking my time with these, but we'll forge ahead. So, Tessa Blanchard. And guess what? Guess who her opponent is going to be? Tessa Blanchard, no longer a champion, against Vanessa Craven. Yes, her former tag team partner. The long time coming. I'm surprised it took this long because they've been teasing it since they first started teaming up. Dissension in the ranks. And of course, the big bad heel, Vanessa Craven, kind of become a lovable heel. Now to beat down her former boss, who bossed her around. And it was going to be a lumberjack or Lumberjill match, I suppose. Now, the thing is, though, before the actual match, there has to be a promo. So, there was a, let's see. Yeah, it was going to be a fight between the two of them, but it has to set up for a Lumberjill match. Lumberjill, I guess. And Alexi 5 talks about this. So, basically what it's going to be is a lumberjack match. You're supposed to have a bunch of wrestlers on the outside of the ring. So instead of having a cage to keep them in, because, one person keeps running away or getting a count out to win, not winning by an actual pin or submission. The wrestlers on the outside are supposed to grab the person and throw him back in, and they're supposed to prevent interference. But the thing is, each person gets their own people from the back. So the heel wrestler, Tessa, gets the bad girls, the heels, to all be on her team, and Vanessa Craven gets all the good girls, the faces, to be on her team. Not all of them, but let's say 5 or 6. And so when the bad wrestler gets thrown out of the ring, the good wrestlers beat on that person and then throw him in. Whereas when the good wrestler gets thrown out, they get beaten down by the heels, and vice versa. And sometimes those two factions will fight each other. The Lumberjills fight each other. So it never really goes according to plan, but that's how it is. Only, of course, the two wrestlers in the ring can actually score. So, well, the other way is a special referee, but, they always cheat, too. So, these are kind of old wrestling conventions. They do these things. So the next match is the title match. Well, it's the Heart of Shimmer Championship title, which was the one that they introduced for the Chick Fight tournament, for the pay-per-view. Heart of Shimmer Championship. A little bit bigger gold belt. I guess I don't know, it was supposed to be like the rookie that wins the tournament, but it could be anything. So, Shazza McKenzie is the holder of this title. So I think they're just giving her a run because I know she said she's getting married. I don't know if she'll be retiring from wrestling. Maybe she'll be taking some time off. A lot of times these wrestlers do. They get married, they have children, they decide, just take a break. Maybe for good. But we'll see. So she's having this title run with this Heart of Shimmer Championship. She's kind of lovable. She's also a little bit fierce. But I don't know. Shazza McKenzie, not one of my favorites. She definitely walks around the ring with, with care, so as not to fall. But when she was clumsy and goofy like that, it was kind of funny. Kind of played it up. Back when she was with Veda Scott. So I don't know if the shine is coming off of Shazza McKenzie for me, but I wish her well, of course. I don't know. She just didn't have a standout performance this weekend, and I think even the last weekend it was kind of like, So we'll see. But actually, I have more to say about that. For this volume, so. Here's what happened. So Allison Kay was there. Sienna from TNA. She was there, and of course she's very tall and very muscular in comparison to someone like Shazza McKenzie, very small. It was supposed to be a match between the two of them, and I thought, oh great, here you have this champion from another promotion, star, is going to put over Shazza McKenzie. But the two of them took a tumble. This was where it was unfortunate, because this was an accident, and this was recorded on a digital versatile disc. I'm not sure if they'll censor it or what, but what happened was the two of them were on the climbing the turnbuckle, and so I guess from the hard cameras it would be the upper right. From my perspective it was the upper left, but anyway, two of them were up there and they fell down to the floor, to the wooden floor between the barricade and the ring. And I think Shazza McKenzie popped up first, and she did something like, "Is my head still on?" I don't know if that was a joke, a call back to earlier when like a piece of her hair fell off and someone made a joke, implying that she had hair extensions or something. But is my head still on? Like, did my head fall off? Like, because she survived this fall. Because, they climb up and they punch and then out, and then they both fall off. Well, she may have been stalling for time, because Allison Kay popped up and she kind of tilted her head back, which I thought, since the audience can see, and you could see blood running down from her hair down to over her forehead and then down her cheek. And it wasn't just like a little tiny trickle of blood, it was like a lot of blood. Like, this is talking about Ric Flair blading blood. And wrestlers do this. They take the little bit of the hidden razor blade and they cut, usually, during a big move, so that it looks like, they were busted open, showing color. Juicing, blading, they call it. Well, it happens a lot in wrestling, but she actually looked dizzy. And she kind of And it looked like she was holding her head back so that she wouldn't bleed on the ring. because that it can be a health hazard. The blood just laying there for everyone else to roll around in. Especially dirty ring like that. Could get an infection from a cut. But Lexi Fife ran out to the ring right away, so then you knew something was wrong because she wasn't dressed as a wrestler or anything. There were 3 referees out there, and they're all looking at Allison Kay with concern. She's just holding her head back and everything. And then they kind of they took her out. The match is over. Due to injury, referee stoppage, whatever. So that does happen. So it's unfortunate. And I don't know. I've heard about a lot of female wrestlers don't actually cut their skin on their forehead like the male wrestlers do because they don't want the scar. So they cut themselves above the hairline so that the blood will run down. And it's rare to see women wrestlers, cut themselves, get color on television. It's considered a little bit too extreme, but we've seen Melissa bleed, we've seen others bleed in Shimmer, usually towards the end of the show so that they can get things cleaned up. But this was definitely an accident, and it was portrayed as an accident because the match ended right then and there. So it's too bad. Shazza McKenzie, she could have had a great match with Allison Kay, but in Allison's case, it's something like, I bumped my head on the edge of the ring, and that can really, really hurt. Because I know there's staples and nails and things that are kind of holding it together. So the gash in her hair. During the intermission, she actually had a pad that was over top of her head with the hair, and then she had it was tied around, so some first aid. And she had the blood had run down her face and on her chin, making a little looked like she had a goatee out of the blood. It was all dried. And she was just, pleasant and sweet and, going about her business. I think that was intentional because it's it would take a lot to clean all that up just to say, hey, I survived, I'm tough, I'm still here. So, some people had some pictures with her, doing her little pinkies up pose, genteel thing with her, peacock feathers and everything, but she's definitely was bloodied. And then I think for the final intermission or the last fan interaction at the very end, she was all cleaned up. She had fresh makeup applied, but she still had the little pad thing, holding her wound together. So she may have to get a few stitches for that because that did look kind of nasty. So I don't know if maybe she bladed in a previous match and then that fall reopened it, or if it was a brand new one because, ugh. Well, anyway. That happens sometimes. You don't see it very often, but it does happen in wrestling. It becomes real with the injuries. So, Shazza McKenzie is still the champion, but it's too bad she didn't have a chance to have that match, because I think that could have been a good one. It really could have. So later, they compensated for it by having Veda Scott be her opponent. The two of them have a different match. But, it's like former tag team partners. It's kind of good, but still, just to see Allison Kay back, because that was her one shot. She wasn't on the Saturday show at all, and she wasn't on the Sunday show at all because of the injury. So she might have been in another match after this, but originally planned. But plans change, for her safety and health, of course. Makes sense. So next we had another title match. Mercedes Martinez and Aja Kong. Yes, Aja Kong, the beast from Japan. She looks like she hardly aged at all. She still has her physique. She is just a mountain of muscle. And, with her gloves, her boxing gloves with a little finger sticking out, and her purple. She just, it's just a dream come true to see her wrestle. With her little metal waste baskets that she brings out. And they were against Nicole Savoy. And Hikaru Shida. Now, of course, Nicole Savoy had come to the aid of Hikaru Shida, the Joshi wrestler, Hikaru Shida was a heel, but she became a face because she was, her opponent just kept attacking the injury, and she's suffering and suffering. So through the theater of suffering, she became a sympathetic character. She didn't use the kendo stick to beat her opponent down like she would have in the past. She's definitely a face now. And Nicole Savoy, the cocky heel, kind of displaced after Shayna Baszler leaves. She's kind of displaced in the trifecta by Aja Kong, the veteran, the bully of bullies, the queen of bullies, Aja Kong. And so Nicole Savoy finally leaving the trifecta in Mercedes Martinez and joining up with her former rival Hikaru Shida. Now, of course, Shida, so injured and so wounded with her leg, every match, they carried the continuity through. She would just, a few attacks, they go right for the leg, right, sweep the leg. And she's just, crying out in pain. Such great acting. And then, Aja Kong, what no more needs to be said about her. But Mercedes Martinez, a legend as well. Such a veteran. I think a lot of people probably didn't even know who she was until they saw in the Mae Young Classic. But, she had her match in WWE against Victoria. She was defeated, but, and she was very young then with blonde hair. She kind of has the blonde hair back, actually. And that was when she was in the Mae Young Classic. I was thinking, oh, she's recreating her moment, bigger than ever. Now she's a veteran. And she does the chops. She didn't do as many of the knife-edge chops, the Ric Flair style slaps to the chest that really got people going, woo. Every time she did, woo. That's never going to get old. But she didn't do as many of those. She definitely tries to put over, the people she's wrestling, the faces and everything. But just, Mercedes Martinez is just great. Because she's both a cowardly heel and she's a very skilled, dangerous woman. She juggles those just right in the inches. And Aja Kong, of course, just dynamite. And she moves slowly and methodically, and you think, well, she's approaching 50, just like, her former rival, Manami Toyota, who recently retired, and I was sad to see that. I guess I won't see her wrestle in person. It's too bad, but, the two of them, had many battles, many wars together. But Aja Kong, doing what she does best, just beating people down, just no-selling moves, just vicious headbutts, spinning back fist. If you haven't seen this woman wrestle before, check out Joshi Mania. Check out her matches in Japan against Manami Toyota and others, with Bull Nakano cage match. She has the scar down her arm, which I believe was inflicted by Bull Nakano. She cut her with a weapon in a cage match in Japan. And back then, Aja Kong, she's always had kind of the short, kind of buzz cut hair with the curly on top, and she used to be more of a punk, so she had, the shirt that says "Punk's Not Dead." I used to think it said "Punks Die," but it's "Punk's Not Dead," like she's keeping it alive. But she's definitely, wore her purple, her classic outfit, uniform that you would have seen. Kind of like she and Dynamite Kansai, of course, another large Japanese wrestler. The two of them, they have their almost looks like a Power Ranger outfit, but it's just almost comical because she's so big, and she definitely looks fit. She isn't just fat, there's muscle under there, and she uses it to just crush her opponents. She does like elbow drops and just different moves. So she's definitely a legend. It's definitely a joy to see her, and so the two of them, just what a dynamite team. And Nicole Savoy, great. Hikaru Shida, great. But the two of them, a little smaller, a little more slender. And of course, Nicole Savoy, I liked her so much as a heel, but, I always kind of wanted to root for her anyway. So the fact that she's going face, that's alright. But they were defeated, and Aja Kong brutalized them with weapons. So there's some cheating going on. And then Lexi Feist came out again, so I guess they used her in storyline this time, and told Andy Long that he was the worst referee ever. And so the thing is, what's going to happen is Mercedes Martinez is going to have to defend the title without the assistance of Aja Kong. Except maybe at ringside. But, yeah, well, we'll get into that. So, great match. Great way to end Shimmer Volume 98. And I've said enough. So, we're going to move on to the final segment. Well, maybe I'll do a wrap up. But the next volume, Shimmer 99. So, that will be coming up. So, thanks for watching for now. But yes, there's definitely a worthwhile show. So, when it comes out finally, a year or so from now, I'm sure you will enjoy it. But definitely check out 96, 97 as well. The setup,